All right, y'all. So we had a gap up overnight. I'm not sure if it was because of more rhetoric from Trump. Like after he dogged out Jerome Powell, he came back and was like, "Oh no, I'm not firing him anytime soon." He said that after hours. So that got the market moving again. So let's see what levels we have today. So all these levels that are on my chart are they're here because essentially these are levels that I charted at one time and they just never got triggered. So what we see right here, let me move this out the way. What we see right here, this 12-hour supply with a 3-hour nested inside of it, this was something that after price moved away from it, when was this? April 15th, it just kept going down and hadn't come back up to trigger it. Now it's coming back up inside of it now, and it could reject still. We're on the 12 hours, so it's not showing what's happening at lower time frames, but it's currently testing this supply zone now. So essentially what I'm going to be looking at today is as I'm going down on the lower time frames, charting the levels, I am going to be looking for levels in between this area to play. But we also have to think, right? Because we're thinking we want levels to play if price goes up and if price goes down. So if price goes down, I'm sure we have levels that formed in this area that we can play, a couple of demand levels. But what if price goes up and pushes past this area? In this case, what I would be looking to do is if price breaks past it, I'd be looking to wait for it to retest this zone and continue up into our next supply zone. So anyway, that's just a overview of what I'm going to be looking at today. So down here, if you remember from yesterday, did I record yesterday? I don't think I added it. But yesterday's charting on the way up, we created all these like stair step demand levels. We had a 90-minute, a 2-hour, like 4-hour. We had all these little stair step demands that were created down here. So we moved away from those, but in if price comes all the way back down here today, for some reason, not sure what reason it would have, if price comes all the way back down here, then we'll have something to trade. Let me just extend that. Okay, so on the 12-hour, I'm not seeing anything below. We're currently sitting in a 12-hour supply that was above price yesterday. And if price continues past it, we have additional supply zones up here. We've got a whole bunch of stacked supplies, a 4-hour, a 6-hour, a 12-hour. But these were really wide zones and they all end at the top of this shaded area. I just didn't pull the rectangle all the way down. But they all end at the top of this shaded area. So again, that's pretty far above price. So for the 12-hour, I'm not seeing anything new. Going down to the 6-hour, we formed this 6-hour supply right here. And this is giving me more, this is kind of giving me like seeing the 6-hour supply that formed right here. This is kind of supporting the continuation up. This would, right, because if price bounced back down to the 6-hour demand level, then we would expect it to bounce back up again. So this is kind of giving me an indication that we might grind through this level, this supply zone today, and instead continue up through it. So because this has already kind of been tested in pre-market, I'm not going to be looking at trading this. I'm just keeping it on my chart for now. Um, it's been kind of triggered. There was a small reaction here. I'm sure we'll see it on a lower time frame, but let's go ahead and chart the 6-hour supply. Oh man, hold on. I don't like using the candles, but okay. So I'm charting it at the open of this red supply zone. And I'm just going to hover over the candle and see exactly where it opened, 54.1675. I'm going to make it exact. This is, oh my God, 6-hour supply. Oh, demand. Sorry, guys. And if anyone is new, that means you need to buy. And now I'm going to use my rectangle here to mark where my stop should be. At the bottom of this red candle, this is where my stop should be placed. That's going to invalidate the trade. If price just continues down through this level, it's going to invalidate that trade. I'm going to go ahead and remove these, but okay, so that's all I see for the 6 hour. This was a 6 hour supply zone right here, but as you can see, if I follow this line across, it got triggered once, twice, three times already. And it is giving us some extra resistance, right? As you see prices coming up here and it's kind of hitting it and reacting to it. But still, the more times a level is tested, you never know when it's gonna break. You know what I mean? Okay, so we have another 6 hour supply zone right here that's been tested once and twice, almost to the tick right here. So this is one of those things where I'm not really marking it as a supply zone, but this would be a level of interest. Like if price breaks this level, wait, do I have the price level tool? Oh, okay. Where'd it open? 55.28. This would be like a level of interest where if price breaks this level, then I would be looking, like if it breaks it, I would be looking for it to like retest and continue up to this next supply zone. There's a bunch of room in between. So if this is at 55.28, right? Like our next supply zone isn't until 56.24. That's almost 100 points. So that's what I'm saying. If it breaks this level, I'll be looking at the retest of it to ride it up to that supply zone. What we have, let me mark this as, I'm going to mark it as 6 hour supply, and I'm going to say tested two times. Just so I know, this is like, I'm not trying to trade this as a typical supply zone, because I like to trade fresh zones, like ones that haven't been tested yet. And this one's been tested twice, but it's, gotten pretty strong reactions every single time. Okay, so let's go to the 4 hour. Okay, so now as we're getting to these lower time frames, we're seeing the gap that was created from that jump up from last night. So I am going to be marking this gap just as like a place of interest. We'll talk about it when I get to one of the lower time frames in just a second. So nothing down here on the 4 hour and above, we've got plenty of levels, so I'm not going to try to force anything. Let's keep it moving. 3 hour. I keep saying I'm gonna take this off of my charting list. We have a 3 hour zone right here. Let's see. This 3 hour zone has been tested once, twice, three, almost four times. So again, this is right here at the top. Hold on, let me slow down. Let me slow down. Let me mark this demand first before I talk about that. Okay, so I'm gonna mark this 3 hour demand at the open of the opposite color candle right here. It opened at 53.21.25. So I'm going to make it exact. 53.21.25. And this is a really wide zone because of this long tail wick that we have here. So if it gets down here, just be, careful about your entries, because what this is saying is that price could bounce anywhere within the zone. And this is a pretty wide zone. So this is something that I would not be interested in trading unless it retraced down into the level a little bit more so I could shorten my stop. Now, if we look up here, I'm going above all of this choppiness, right? Because we're at this 3 hour zone. This 3 hour zone, here, we're currently sitting right at it. And price is reacting a little bit, right? You see where it pushed down right here, came down a little further, but now it's kind of coming up, going through it a little slowly. I'm going to take this level off of my chart because I'm not interested in trading it. Because it's already like price is already sitting in here and just playing around. So I like to trade fresh zones because I want to see like quick, strong reactions as price gets in there. So I will take this off. I just wanted to have it there. Now, this is another 3 hour supply. And if we look at it, if we follow that little line straight across, it ends, almost where this current supply zone ends. So it could vary, like you see, like the top of the shaded gray rectangle. So it could very much get to the top of this and reject. As you can see, there's just like a lot of, like, we got a lot of wicks right here showing that this is a rejection area. But we are, because of all this like uncertainty, I'm not gonna play any of these levels as if they're like fresh or new. It's just something to keep in mind if you wanted to trade that. Okay, down to the 2 hour. All right, nothing much new on the 2 hour. Between here, hold on, let me look up. Yeah, and not over there either. Okay, so we're starting to see this gap more and more. Now I'm going to chart this gap. You see how it's funny because it ends exactly where this demand zone ends, right? And so this is something that we had yesterday where we had a gap that started right where our stop loss ended. That happened yesterday, and price essentially yesterday it just blew through it just blew through the gap like super fast all in one go. Sometimes though, it really just depends what you can't trade gaps like certainly like with certainty because sometimes it will come down to the gap and it will just reject off of there so hard. Sometimes it will come down to the gap and it will fill through it so hard. There's really It's not a guarantee what happens every single time, but I am going to mark it and just watch it. I don't have any new levels on the 2 hour. Let me check the one. Okay, 1 hour is forming a little demand up here, and we have a 1 hour demand inside of the 6 hour. I'm going to mark this one. We're not supposed to say what we think the market is going to do. I really think it's gonna continue higher today, but let's see. 5402. So I'm just going to mark this inside as a level inside because it will give me somewhere to look for price to come into. 1 hour demand. It will give me a place to check for price to come into. So like, let's say price is coming back down and this 6 hour demand zone is too big for you to trade in terms of having your stop loss. So what you could do in this case is wait for it to get deeper into the zone, into a smaller demand that's inside of the zone. I do that a lot of times with like 30-minute demands and sometimes 1 hour demands, but 30-minute demands are really reliable when they're inside of a zone. And this could be a 1 hour demand forming. This candle will close in 2 minutes. So I'm fairly certain that this will give us a little 1 hour demand. But I'm not going to mark that. If you guys want to come back to your chart and check and see what price is doing like around 9:15 or so, you can see if you want to mark that. And finally, 30-minute. Mm, mm, mm. Got a little 30-minute inside of this 3 hour. I'm not going to mark that because I'm going to play something closer to price today. Um, so I'll definitely be looking to play this 6 hour demand bounce. If it gives it to us a little sooner after the market opens. And then right here remember we were kind of moving through a supply zone here. So right here we have a 6 hour supply. It's been tested twice. So I'll be looking for it to break this zone. And then if it breaks the zone, I will play the retest up into this next supply zone. So that is essentially what I'm looking at today. Again, you never know what the market's going to do. We just react. So if it does break this level, we can look to, you can look for a retest off of this, oh my God, like the whole zone. You can look for a retest off of the stop loss to trade it down to the demand, and then you can look for a trade inside the demand to play a bounce. All right, so that's it for now. I'm gonna get off and go ahead and put the levels. I should probably put the recordings too. I'll put the levels in the chat and then I'll be back on at 9:30 to trade. All right, see y'all later.